The 5 big things in your latest book. What does happiness mean to Dr. Sanjiv Chopra?
You know, the longest standing study on adult happiness started 85 years ago. So what are the 4 underpinnings of happiness? Number 1 is having a cadre of good friends. Your friends are your chosen family. Number 2, tenet of the happiest people on the planet is to learn to forgive. The third attribute is serving others, doing things for others. So I've distilled it into 3 F's: friends, forgiveness, for others. But the fourth one begins with G, and it's not God, it's gratitude.
52 years ago, when this young medical doctor arrived in the United States, one of the best-selling authors, head of the departments at the prestigious universities such as Harvard, joined by Dr. Sanjiv Chopra. Which were the difficult diseases here to tackle?
Non-alcoholic steatohepatitis, the burgeoning epidemic. The 6 biggest stories playing out in medicine and the biological sciences right now, and they'll come to greater fruition in the next 5 years. And they are artificial intelligence. We shouldn't even call it artificial. We should call it aided or augmented intelligence. It's going to help with drug development. It's going to help with moral injury or burnout. Second human genome, inner bacterial rainforest. 100 trillion bacteria in our gut. In aggregate, they weigh 5 pounds. Implications: obesity, arthritis, Parkinsonism, Alzheimer's, cirrhosis, response to chemotherapy, side effects of chemotherapy. The third is CRISPR and gene editing. The fourth is messenger RNA, which is the basis of the COVID vaccine. The fifth, believe it or not, is the psychedelic revolution. And the sixth are the new weight loss drugs. This is America.
When I today look at your career, when I today recall the success that you have had, the meteoric rise, having been passed out of also another prestigious college, AIIMS, in the national capital of India. I find it an overwhelming experience as a journalist that I'm today sitting in flesh with you to understand who is Dr. Sanjiv Chopra. So my first question to you is, you talk about the 5 big things in your latest book that bring happiness, that you have co-authored. What does happiness mean to Dr. Sanjiv Chopra 52 years on?
Rohan, delighted to be on this podcast with you. I am very, very fortunate and privileged to have been happy all my life. But now I've become a student of that topic. I've actually done 3 or 4 radio shows in New Zealand, and the last time before we started, the 2 moderators said, "Dr. Chopra, can we refer to you as Dr. Happy?" So in New Zealand, I think I'm known as Dr. Happy. So, you know, there are 2 keys to success in life. And the first one is having grit, which we can define as passion and perseverance for a long-term articulated goal. Anyone listening, if you have not heard this brilliant TED Talk by Angela Duckworth on grit, do watch it. It's based on her research in West Point graduates, spelling bee contestants, people from all walks of life. It is not your IQ. It is not your personal appearance, your charms, your social fabric that determines success in life. It's having grit. And along that,
having?
Grit, G-R-I-T, passion
Right.
and perseverance for a long-term articulated goal. And during that journey, there'll be peaks and valleys. There'll be adversity, but adversity is a gift. Rumi, the Sufi mystic, once said, "The wound is where the light enters you." The wound is where the light enters you. So that's the number 1 criterion. Number 2 is being happy. And Albert Schweitzer, Nobel laureate, physician, theologian, humanitarian, once said, "Success is not the key to happiness. Happiness is the key to success." Socrates was one of the first to argue that happiness was not bestowed upon a select few. Prior to him saying this, it was belief. Who's entitled to happiness? Nobility, royalty, poets, philosophers, not the common man.
Right.
He said, no, everyone is entitled to happiness, and happiness and virtue are inextricably linked. In fact, the ancient Greeks did not use the word happiness. They used a term called eudaimonia, which literally translated means human flourishing. You'll flourish in life if you're happy.
Wow.
So what are the 4 underpinnings of happiness? Number 1 is having a cadre of good friends. Your friends are your chosen family. Robert Louis Stevenson once said, a friend is a gift you give to yourself. Khalil Gibran, friendship is a sweet responsibility, never an opportunity. You know, the longest standing study on adult happiness started 85 years ago.
And that still continues.
And it's still continuing. It's called the Harvard Grant Study. And so what happened is, a year after Hitler's troops marched into Austria, 750 21-year-olds in Boston were recruited. 250 went to Harvard. The others were from very underprivileged, poor, destitute families in parts of Massachusetts. Off they went to the war. They came back, re-entered the study. Detailed questionnaires, annual physical examination, functional MRIs, EKG, blood tests, C-reactive protein. Now a cohort of their children are being followed, 2,000 in a similar study. Robert Waldinger, who is a colleague, friend, he's endorsed one of my books on happiness, is now the principal investigator. And he's a fascinating individual. He's a professor of psychiatry at Harvard. He's also a Zen master. And he's given a TED talk on this. What makes a good life? The longest standing study on adult happiness. It's the #1 talk given by a physician. Brilliant. So again, everyone listening, watch this TED talk. Robert Waldinger, Google TED talk. Major conclusion of this study that's gone on for 85 years. Your satisfaction relationships with friends is one of the strongest predictors of health, happiness, and longevity decades later.
Right.
So nurture your friendships. Have friends with good core values. James Rohn, best-selling author, once said, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Right? So choose your friends carefully. Same good core values.
Right.
Number 2, tenet of the happiest people on the planet is to learn to forgive. Anyone, if you have bitterness or rancor in your heart, you cannot truly be happy.
Yeah.
Right? Nelson Mandela, can you imagine 27 years in prison when he's released? Mr. Mandela, do you harbor resentment against your white captors? He smiled, he gave the most beautiful answer. He said, I have no bitterness, I have no resentment. Resentment is like drinking poison and then hoping it will kill your enemies. And Louis Medis, a theologian, once said, to forgive is to set a prisoner free and discover the prisoner was you. You're only holding yourself back. Gandhiji once said, the weak can never forgive. Forgiveness is the attribute of the strong.
Right.
And the Buddha once said, resentment is like holding a hot coal with the intent of hurtling it at somebody who offended you. That person's moved on. Meanwhile, you're burning your hand.
Right.
It's not easy to do,
Absolutely.
but it can be done. The third attribute is serving others, doing things for others. And again, Albert Schweitzer once said, I don't know what your destiny will be, but one thing I'm certain of, the ones amongst you who will be truly happy are those who have sought and found how to serve. How fortunate in the medical profession that we are serving.
Right.
We are serving our patients, their families. We're seeing patients in the middle of the night during an emergency, on long weekends. What an honor and a privilege it's been for me
Absolutely.
to be in the practice of medicine, in hepatology, my field specialty, liver disease. So I've distilled it into 3 F's, friends, forgiveness for others. But the 4th one begins with G, and it's not God, it's gratitude. Ancient term derived from the root gratia, meaning grace, graciousness, gratefulness, highly prized tenet in all the religions. And I define gratitude as have something positive gain coupled with the realization somebody else was responsible for your gain. Right now I'm grateful I'm doing this interview. I didn't call you and say, Rohan, come do a podcast with me. So I'm very grateful for this opportunity to share some reflections.
Correct.
So there's a wonderful anonymous saying, if you don't speak the language of gratitude, you'll never be on speaking terms with happiness. Robert Emmons, father of modern positive psychology, one of the fathers, written a wonderful paperback book. It's called Thanks, subtitled How the New Science of Gratitude Can Make You Happier.
Wow.
And what he did is a large randomized study. Took a large group of individuals, half of them randomized. At the end of the day, for the next 6 weeks, write down 3 things you're grateful for. The other half, at the end of the day, write down 3 things you're grateful for. The group that wrote about their gratitude, their happiness quotient went through the roof.
Right.
So scientific proof. So, we've all heard of IQ. I think people talk about EQ, emotional quotient, being more important.
Right.
My take is HQ, happiness quotient, is even more important.
Right.
You're happy, you radiate happiness, you are like a magnet, you draw happiness, and you flourish in life.
Correct. Dr. Chopra, I mean, it's incredible to know about what happiness means to you personally and the way that you have defined today happiness for most of us. Also, at the same time, the relevant value of success that you gauge and size up against happiness is incredible. You've tried to best to explain it to me and also for the viewers who will be watching my age or people your age as well. Today, now you are almost 75 plus. When you look at the sense of contentment inside you, having come here in the US, brought up laurels and plaudits for yourself in terms of the authorship, in terms of the accolades, and also in terms of the decorations people have given to you. What is it that you cherish most about your own journey that you will always feel proud of?
I think what I cherish most about my journey and gives me a sense of pride and accomplishment is that I've lived a good life and I've helped other people, I've inspired other people. I got very, 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 very fortunate to have the greatest mentors in my academic profession.
And who were they?
And they include Dr. Raj Goyal, Dr. Eli Schimmel, Dr. Dan Federman, Dr. Peter Banks, amazing Dr. Raymond Koff, amazing individuals.
Is any of them still alive?
A couple of them are still alive. And they packed my parachute. I'll tell you a story about packing your parachute. Captain Charlie Plum is sitting in a diner having breakfast with his wife. And there's a guy 3 booths over. He keeps glaring at him. After a while, he walks over. He says, "You, Captain Charlie Plum?" "Yes, sir." He says, "You flew F-4 Phantom jets off the Kitty Hawk during the Vietnam War?" "Yes, sir." "Your plane was shot, you ejected, you were captured, you were a prisoner of war for 6 years, and you were tortured." Captain Plum looks at the guy and he says, "Who the hell are you? That's all true." And the guy says, "I packed your parachute." So Captain Plum said, "Oh my God, I've been meaning to look for you. You saved my life. Tell me something. Do you keep track of everyone's parachute you've packed?" He said, "No, sir. It's enough gratification for me to know that I have served." Captain Charlie Plum was 24 years of age. Off he goes to Vietnam. He marries his high school sweetheart before he goes at the Annapolis Naval Academy. He's done 75 successful sorties. It's his last one. And 4 days later, he's coming back to America to be with his bride. He's shot, he's captured, he's a prisoner of war, he's getting tortured, he's depressed. This is not my war. This is my president's war.
Correct.
And one day, he thinks he hears in his 8-foot, dingy, dark, infested cell, a cricket chirping. So he goes to investigate. It's not a cricket chirping. It's a piece of wire scratching the floor through a concrete wall with a piece of toilet paper on it. And it says, "I'm a fellow prisoner of war. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. I've been here 2 years. Feel sorry for yourself. It's a fatal disease. It's called victimitis. You and I will survive." They keep in touch. Once in a while, they get to meet and have dinner. 180 elite US fighter jet pilots in this prisoner of war camp. But there's one new guy, and he is a midshipman. He fell off an aircraft carrier and was drowning in the Vietcong. Rescued him, threw in the same prison. One day through his cell, Captain Plum is looking through a crack in his wall. There's a new prisoner of war sitting on a stool, silver hair being cropped. Senator McCain was in the same camp. But this midshipman, 2 years later, they say to him, the Vietnamese, you're the one guy who didn't drop bombs on us. You can go home. And he's very naive. I'm part of the team. If you release me, you have to release everyone.
Right.
And the guy who connected with Captain Charlie Plum says to him, listen, I'm the senior most guy in this camp. Take my marching orders and go home. This is the most amazing part of the story. In those 2 years, this midshipman has memorized the names of the other 180 fellow American prisoners of war, names of their first of kin and their addresses, playing songs in his head. And he comes back to our country and he crisscrosses north to south, east to west. 70% of the time they're still there. Others have moved, thought their husband or father died. And he says to them, I was a fellow prisoner of war. They're alive. They'll be home one of these days. He was the ultimate parachute packer. So for me, parachute packing is a metaphor for nurturing and mentoring.
Right.
And I tell people when I give my talk on exemplary leadership, I say each one of you is a leader. You can lead at many different levels. And you have two major responsibilities. Number one, pack other people's parachute.
Which you're doing for me right now.
And number two, thank the people who packed your parachute. And my plea to you, don't wait for the eulogy. Do it now, not when it's too late. I said that to a friend of mine sitting here on this deck, Bob Carruthers, a brilliant hepatologist, now retired, University of Washington, Seattle. And he said, Sanjiv, oh my God, Hal Fallon in Virginia is the guy who packed my parachute 50 years ago. And he goes back to Seattle, we play golf, we travel to Martha's Vineyard. He goes back and he calls me. He says, I wrote a letter to Hal Fallon. I think he's more than 90 years of age. And I thanked him for packing my parachute. And 5 days later, I get an emotional letter from Hal saying, nobody's ever said that. I'm so blown away. I'm so emotional. You were a brilliant physician. You packed your own parachute. I had a very small role. So it's a wonderful metaphor for nurturing and mentoring.
Absolutely. Now, Dr. Raman, you talked about so many things, the virtues that you have acquired of your own, and also people who have actually left an indelible impression on you in terms of who packed your parachute. If I come to your professional career today as a doctor, someone who mastered in the 70s, having come here from AIIMS, the prestigious institute, specialization in liver diseases, hepatology, and also at the same time gastroenterology as well. You have authored 2 books back to back on them in the mid-90s, I believe. One on gastro and then second followed by liver as well. Prominently speaking, which were the difficult diseases here to tackle with when you stumbled upon problems that West was facing at that time, and also at the same time, because it's a country of immigrants, people who were coming from different countries in the 70s, 80s and 90s, they were struggling with. And how did you try to overcome them through your own learnings?
Wonderful question. I'm very fortunate that I have some level of intuition and a great memory that I probably inherited from my father and grandfather.
Right.
And I can see things evolving, the things that are going to be huge in the next 20, 25 years. So more than 20 years ago, with a colleague of mine and a sub-intern, Sunil Sheth, who's now an associate professor at Harvard Medical School, we wrote a review article, submitted it to the Annals of Internal Medicine, and called it Non-Alcoholic Steatohepatitis, the Burgeoning Epidemic. So this is now called Metabolic Associated Steatotic Liver Disease. We submitted the article in 5 days. It was accepted without any revision. I could see this happening with the epidemic of type 2 diabetes and obesity in our country. It's now the dominant chronic liver disease in the world.
Right.
1.5 billion people have this disease. And what's happening is that 3-year-olds in our country have fatty liver. 16-year-olds have not only fatty liver, increased fat deposition, but inflammation,
Right.
steatohepatitis.
Right.
Then some of them develop scarring, some develop cirrhosis, some liver failure, some need a transplant. It's the number one indication for liver transplantation in our country. And during the COVID epidemic, it went worse. People were eating too much, some were drinking too much, both alcohol-related liver disease and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease became dominant liver diseases. So I also gave a talk.
But your initial paper and study was largely on non-alcoholic.
Yeah. So non-alcoholic, it used to be called, because under the microscope it looks just like, this patient is drinking a lot of alcohol, but they're not drinking alcohol. They have obesity and type 2 diabetes.
Oh,
So now we call it metabolic associated steatotic liver disease.
right.
One of the keynotes I give is called a look back through the rearview mirror and a glimpse ahead.
Right.
And in the glimpse ahead, I start with a quote by Niels Bohr, Nobel laureate in physics, who 100 years ago said, predictions are difficult, particularly those about the future. But I said, no, I'm going to have the courage
It's a paradox.
to predict the 6 biggest stories playing out in medicine and the biological sciences right now, and they'll come to greater fruition in the next 5 years.
Right.
And they are artificial intelligence. We shouldn't even call it artificial. We should call it aided or augmented intelligence. It's going to help with drug development. It's going to help with moral injury or burnout. You know, you can take an EKG. Can you imagine an EKG? This is a study published by Mayo Clinic, and incorporate AI, and it comes up with a liver score. It says this person has mild disease, severe liver disease, needs a transplant. After the transplant, it reverts to normal. The most brilliant cardiologist would be clueless. It's doing some pattern recognition.
Right.
Another study, chest x-ray, incorporate AI. It says which of these patients, chest x-rays it's seeing, has type 2 diabetes. Another study, CAT scans done for diverticulitis, abdominal
Right.
pain, incorporate AI, it predicts which of these patients 5 years later will manifest with pancreatic cancer. So huge. Second is microbiome,
Right.
the second human genome, inner bacterial rainforest, the
Right.
100 trillion bacteria in our gut. In aggregate, they weigh 5 pounds. Implications of obesity, arthritis, Parkinsonism, Alzheimer's, cirrhosis, response to chemotherapy, side effects of chemotherapy. The third is CRISPR and gene editing. You know, Jennifer Doudna, when she was 12 years of age, comes back from school. She's the eldest of 3 sisters. On her bed, she finds a book, paperback, Double Helix by James Watson.
Right.
At 24, with Crick and Wilkinson, he got the Nobel Prize. 24 years of age. She reads the book. She's so enamored. Next day, she goes to the chemistry teacher. I want to learn chemistry. This is America, 35 years ago or so. And he says, young lady, chemistry is not for girls, it's for boys. You know what happened 2 years ago? Together with Emmanuel Carpentier from Paris, got the Nobel Prize in chemistry.
She.
Jennifer Doudna, Nobel Prize. She's
Do you
a
also know
billionaire
her
now.
personally?
No. She's a brilliant lady. There's a wonderful book by Walter Isaacson. He's a historian.
Correct.
He writes beautifully.
Absolutely.
And he's written Codebreaker, Jennifer Doudna, Gene Editing, and the Future of the Human Race. That's the title of the book.
Yeah.
Incredible. You know, we can now do gene editing. It's published for hemophilia, sickle cell anemia, transfusion-dependent thalassemia, hereditary forms of deafness, angioedema. One treatment, cured. Now, it's very expensive. The cost will come down.
Right.
The fourth is messenger RNA, which is the basis of the COVID vaccine.
Correct.
Again, the foundations were laid 20 years ago. Drew Weissman and Caitlin Caraco at Pullman School of Medicine in Philadelphia got the Nobel Prize for this work. And it will help with new diseases and new vaccines and many other things. The fifth, believe it or not, some of the listeners will be a little stunned that I'm maybe saying this, is the psychedelic revolution. Magic mushrooms, ketamine, ibogaine, LSD. It's now being researched. Previously, you said, oh, if I take this, I feel happy. Well, now you can measure oxytocin, endorphins, dopamine in the
Correct.
blood, happy molecules. You can do functional MRI, and you can see neuronal connections growing. You know, the old saying, you can't teach a old dog new tricks. No, you can teach
You
an
can
old
still
dog.
teach.
This is called neuroplasticity.
Right.
And the sixth are the new weight loss drugs. They not only cause people to lose weight, diabetes can disappear, liver disease can improve, arthritis can disappear, Now there's studies showing it may increase longevity and mitigate against Alzheimer's. The Economist had a cover story 8-9 months ago,
Right.
and on it said the new everything drugs.
Right.
Right now, the challenge is $1,400 a month.
Right.
Expensive. When you stop it, will you gain the weight? Dan Drucker is a brilliant endocrinologist, scientist at University of Toronto. And in a recent talk he gave at University of Washington, Seattle, he said there are more than 100 drugs in the pipeline. They'll be by mouth, they'll be cheaper, they'll be better. Some will be coupled with another medication to prevent sarcopenia or muscle wasting,
Right.
which is one of the side effects of these new weight loss drugs.
Dr. Chopra, if I today ask you about people who have been part of your family, whether it is your brother, your father, your wife, your grandkids, because you're a maternal grandfather as well, how close are they in making what you are and giving you the sense of gratification that you draw from them?
What a great question. I think every single one of them. And by the way, I can enlarge it to also my friends. I'm very lucky to have amongst the best friends in the world. Your friends are your chosen family. They have been instrumental in any iota of success I've had, in all the happiness I feel every single day. Sir Isaac Newton once said, if I have seen farther than others, it is because I've stood on the shoulder of giants. I've stood on the shoulders of so many giants. My brother is truly inspirational, so is my wife, so are my kids, my grandkids. My parents, amazing. My father was a brilliant cardiologist. He treated his poor patients with the same level of dignity as he treated the President of India. He actually was the personal physician to the President of India, Fakhruddin Ali Ahmed. And I actually got into medical school not having to wait 2 years because I was underaged. I had finished 11 years of high school and 1 year of pre-med, so that's 12 years, and I was 15 years of age, and you had to be 17 in order to join the All India Institute of Medical Sciences.
Right.
And my father goes to see President Fakhruddin Ali Ahmed, and he knew us. He said, how are Deepak and Sanjiv doing? He said, Deepak is at the All India Institute. My younger son is also pretty bright, but he has to wait a couple of years because he's underage. And the president looked at him and said, what kind of a silly rule is that? And through an act of parliament, it was changed. And I squeezed in by 21 days.
Wow.
I managed to do well in the entrance exam and in the interview. And the rest is history. So it's amazing how these things happen to us in our life. I'm living my dharma. Did we talk about dharma before?
Yes.
Yeah.
But what is that incident that still rankles you of your childhood that drew you closer to your brother or your father as well?
So, for my brother, we were very close friends. He was almost 3 years older, but we were good friends, and we played a lot of cricket matches, and we watched Ram Leela together. And one day, around 7 years of age, we were living in Jabalpur, and for my birthday, I get a BB gun. And I'm a pretty good shot with catapult, bow and arrow, BB gun. So on a pole, I put a can of cherry blossom shoe polish and I'm knocking it down. And Deepak comes and stands behind. He says, go ahead, shoot. I said, Deepak, what are you doing? He said, you know the story of William Tell and the apple? You never miss. Go ahead and shoot. So I shot. I missed the tin. I shot a little above it. It hit Deepak in the chin and he's bleeding. He says, now we're going to go inside and tell mom, and our grandmother was with us, that I tripped on a piece of barbed wire, nicked my chin, that's why I'm bleeding. I said, Deepak, that's a lie. I am Ram and you are Lakshman. You have to listen to me. So we go and my mother said, what happened? He looks at me. I have to do the lie. Tripped on a barbed wire, nicked it. So she washed it, Dettol, put a Band-Aid. My dad came home at 8:30. We would wait, have dinner with him. What happened? He looks at me, again repeat the lie. Next 2 days there's a swelling there. And my grandmother says to my father, you're supposed to be the most brilliant doctor in all of India. You make all these rare diagnoses. You have missed the diagnosis in your own son. There's a foreign body lodged in there. Take him to the hospital, get an x-ray. So off they go. And I'm pacing the veranda, and every 5 minutes I go inside. Mom, did they call? She said, you're very worried about your brother. Finally, the phone rings. They took an X-ray, and the pellet is still there. So they incise it and remove it. So Deepak has a little dimple in his chin, like Kirk
That
Douglas.
is because of you.
And that's because of me. So that's an amazing story.
Excellent.
Very fond of our
our
childhood.
blindness.
And then for my father, I was 12 years of age, again with Deepak, studying at St. Columbus High School in New Delhi, staying with my uncle and aunt, Ratan Chacha, Karna auntie. My father was posted 300 miles away, but they wanted us to finish our schooling at this great school. So on a warm, sultry weekend, I play a cricket match. And Sunday evening around 7, I'm reading something, I'm not feeling that good, I put it down. And I wake up 30, 40 minutes later and I'm terrified. I can't see. I open my eyes, I blink. Dark. Deepak, I'm blind, I can't see. And he must have done visual threat and reckoned I wasn't faking it. He started to cry. I have one brother, he's turned blind. My uncle, Ratan Chacha, takes me to the military hospital. Doctors examine me. They don't have the foggiest idea. And I can hear them talking. Maybe it's hysterical. If you're faking it, you come from the side with a pencil or your finger, pretend to poke the eye, you see it and you blink. Finally, they get a hold of my father. This is 1961. He's in an army jeep, long distance trunk haul. And very calmly he says, tell me everything that's happened to Sanjiv in the last 2 months. He's been fine. No, everything. Any accidents, injuries, medication. Oh yes, he had a laceration to his right leg with a sharp object. Taken to the casualty ward, got stitches. Did he get an antibiotic? They looked in the records, mentioned it. Did he get a tetanus shot? Very proudly they said, yes, he was given a tetanus shot. My father asked one more question. There are two kinds, anti-tetanus serum, ATS, or anti-tetanus toxoid, ATT. Which one did he get? They said anti-tetanus serum. I don't know how my father divined it. He said, Sanjiv is having a rare idiosyncratic reaction to the anti-tetanus serum, delayed reaction. He has a form of serum sickness only affecting his two optic nerves, optic neuritis. They're ready to burst. Start an intravenous and give him massive doses of corticosteroids. And that was done, and about 12, 14 hours later, my vision returned. I remember opening my eyes and being so happy now I could see. The interior of all the army hospitals in India were painted green, and I could see the green walls. And the next day I said, my dharma is to be a healer like my father.
Wow, incredible. Dr. Chopra, these are some of the very poignant tales that you have regaled me with. I want to ask you a very specific question before, of course, I let go of you and wrap up this podcast with you. And then we move into a small segment of rapid fire with you. You have had the best of the things, best of the worlds, both the worlds whenever you thought of, whether it is your professional career and personal career, to have as lucky a brother that he is by your side, a wife by your side, and also at the same time a great father and now a great faculty at Harvard. When I talk about the sense of contentment, what is it that there is left inside you that is still unfulfilled in terms of how you authored your book, 5 Big Things That Make You Happy, that will still make you content in the next 10 years or 15 years? What is it that is insatiable appetite that you want to whet? And how do you want to whet it?
I think that's a great question. I think happiness, success is a journey. It's not a destination. So I'm on that journey. And therefore I'm very happy and content. The only thing I would wish for is to maybe have a greater reach out to more people. And in particularly the young people. I think if there's going to be hope for the human race, for the future, it's going to be young people. They are brilliant. I call them the modern day philosophers. When I give my talk on happiness and living with purpose, I encourage the people in the audience. Sometimes they're taking photographs of a particular slide. I said, no, you don't have to do that. Whoever invited me will give you access to all my PowerPoint presentation. And you can use it, you can modify it. You don't have to give me attribution. I call it copy left. But I encourage them to ask their children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews to complete the phrase, happiness is.
Yeah.
And it's amazing what answers they come up with. You'd think they'd say, a 5-year-old would say, 6-year-old would say, birthday party, sleepovers, going to Disney. They come up with the most amazing answers. The dean of a college in Worcester, Assumption College, she shared my presentation with her husband. Then she said, Dr. Chopra, I took your cue and asked my 5-year-old daughter, what is happiness? And my daughter immediately responded, Mommy, happiness is when the heart feels bigger.
Wow.
What a beautiful definition.
It is.
My 6-year-old granddaughter, who's now 18, going to Tufts, when she was 6, sitting in the living room before dinner, and I asked her, I said, Meera, what's happiness? Nana, happiness is the warm glow of love in your heart. You know, John Lennon, the Beatle, when he's 5 years of age, goes to school, and the teacher gives the kids an assignment. Write down what you want to be when you grow up. He writes happy, and he gives it to the teacher.
Yes.
And the teacher says, John, you didn't understand the assignment. And he looks at the teacher and he says,
did.
and you don't understand life. 5 years of age. His mother every night when she put him into bed said, John, when you grow up, I want you to be happy. You know, Rohan, the #1 course subscribed to at many, many universities and colleges, started at Yale, happened at Harvard, Berkeley, Columbia Presbyterian, Singapore, many countries, is a course on happiness. Students are looking, young people are looking. How can we be happy? How can we flourish in life?
Mr. Chopra, we'll wrap up this interview with a rapid fire. We'll
Sure.
play a game called This or That.
Okay.
Okay? This or that, and then we'll ask you more questions and see how prompt you are with your answers. Okay. Scotch or cigar?
Scotch.
Boston or Delhi?
Boston.
Harvard or AIIMS?
Harvard.
Wife or Deepak?
Wife.
A career in army that your father had as a doctor, or career in medical outside, private?
Medical outside, academia.
Food at home or food outside?
Food at home with friends.
Kids calling Nana or kids calling Nani when they want to rescue and seek happiness?
Kids calling Nana.
Okay, so now we will come to the question that you will have only a second to give the answers with. Okay, first and most expensive item that you bought in your life?
Luxury car.
What was it?
Mercedes.
And which model?
Actually, it was a BMW convertible.
Is it still in your possession?
No.
What was the last thing that you purchased for your wife?
I tell her to buy her own gifts because then I know I won't go wrong.
Place that you lectured the most in your career as a faculty and as a private citizen as well?
Singapore and Anaheim, California.
Things that are always in your pocket all the time.
Gratitude.
Things that you want to keep but you couldn't have in your life thus far.
If I have one regret, it would be I should have learned Urdu and I should have learned to type when I was young.
You can't?
I don't need to now. I can speak into my iPhone.
Of course. Why do you think you have such a good memory and you are endowed with such good memory?
I think I inherited it from my father and my grandfather and my whole family. Great memory.
5 authors that shaped your own career.
Shakespeare, Rudyard Kipling, Rabindranath Tagore, Deepak Chopra. My father wrote a couple of books, The Mystery and Magic of Love, Your Life is in Your Hands.
5 people who you admonish, detest seeing in your life.
I don't have any.
People who you want to see routinely in your life.
My favorite friends.
You
They're
want to
my
name
chosen
them?
family.
You want to name a few of them?
Sure. Adrian Wilkins, Sohang Chatterjee, Yusuf A. Rahim, Gina Will, Tony, Elena Sotomayor, her sister Carmen, her mother Maru, family. Amazing people.
One thing that you do, first thing that you do when you wake up.
First thing when I do when I wake up is I say an affirmation. I expand in abundance, success, happiness, and love every day, and inspire others to do the same.
Last thing that
But
you do.
what I've started to do now is to make it the last thing I'd say every night as my head hits the pillow. There's now research that if you say an affirmation at night, the brain figures it out, and you are more likely to achieve and get that kind of affirmation come to life.
One last quote with which you want to end this interview and podcast with me.
I think I show this in one of my talks, and there are 5
You
things.
can look into the camera.
There are 5 things. I should have spent more time with my friends. I should have had the courage to pursue my dreams and aspirations. I should have said I love you more often. I should have traveled more. I should have spent more time with my friends. You know who says these 5 things? People in hospice. When asked, what are your greatest regrets in life? These are the 5 things people come up with. Not, I should have lived in a bigger mansion, I should have belonged to 3 country clubs, I should have driven a new Ferrari every 6 months. These are the greatest regrets. So the point of it, all of us, you and me, should have none of these regrets
Excellent.
at the end of our life.
So that was a raconteur, a doctor, the man of letters here in Boston speaking to me, Dr. Sanjiv Chopra, here as I bid goodbye to the United States for bringing more such stories of valor, grit, human interest and determination from the United States. Keep following me, Rohan Dua, on The New Indian.